I want to say that I think all of you beautiful sluts are absolutely gorgeous, and I love this place, and I love these people, and we're going to have a great time tonight, especially you.
Yeah. Hey, everyone, it's me, Mr. Jaye.
And I'm Tricky Rick.
Yeah, well, welcome to the Living Life Between the Lines podcast, where we discuss the ups and downs, ins and outs, and the various journeys of the bisexual swinger lifestyle.
All right, let's do this thing.
Yeah, this is the third episode, and we're excited to dive into the story of the week. And today's guest is Brandon, a.k.a.
Yay.
Champagne Sparkles.
Champagne Sparkles is in the house.
Yeah,
Yay.
We're going to dive deep into Brandon's journey of how Brandon got into the lifestyle and some of Brandon's favorite memories of the lifestyle and how Champagne Sparkles came to be.
There you go. Welcome, Champagne Sparkles.
Yeah. Before we get started, though, let's make sure everybody smashes that like button, share the show with everyone you know, and subscribe to our channel to stay up to date on new content being released soon. Head over to buyevents.com. That's buy-events.com to sign up for a profile and get the 411 on all Buy Events news. So with that being said, let's get into it.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
All right. So, Brandon, let's take it back. Where does your story begin?
Ooh.
And make sure you talk into that microphone.
Sure. I mean, I think like all origin stories, it starts at childhood, right? Like it starts pretty young. My first sexual experience was with a boy. And so...
Really?
Yeah. So I learned pretty early what I thought I might like. And then in my teens and throughout my early 20s, I primarily dated women. And then I was married in a straight marriage. And I kind of didn't give it too many extra thoughts for quite some time. But sometime around my mid to late 20s, you know, you start getting some feelings.
Absolutely.
You start wanting to do some things.
Yeah.
And I met a man then who I was certainly pretty taken with, who kind of rekindled those same feelings. And that kind of got me started. So I think officially came out about 13 years ago when I was 30. But it was probably a year of casual, what we call closeted dating, I suppose, that had happened prior to that. Obviously, the marriage didn't continue, but my journey began there. And I really started getting into, okay, I think this is who I am and what I really like. As a matter of fact, now I really identify as a pansexual, but at the time, bisexual was absolutely the label that I carried for some time, and that was my thing.
And for those who don't know what pansexual is, why don't you just quick explain that?
Oh, sure. Pansexual is essentially I'm attracted to people regardless of their gender, and it implies that people have more than two genders.
Sure, absolutely.
So did you grow up in a traditional household type of a situation?
Yeah, primarily.
Primarily.
I grew up with my mom,
Right.
And my grandparents were sort of around, and they were married for 60 years.
Okay.
So very much heteronormative,
Right.
in terms
Okay.
of how I grew up.
Okay, cool.
Cool. So when you first, so you had your first sexual experience with a male or boy, you said. So did you realize that you were bisexual right away, or was that something that you kind of you did and you were like, kind of just pushed it back in your memory all along?
I mean, that's really complicated. So I did have my first sexual experience with a boy. I was 9.
Oh, wow.
And so it wasn't until I was really 17, 18.
Was he the same age as you, or pretty much?
A couple years older.
Right.
And later, as a young adult, he was my best friend growing up.
Right.
And so I had learned that he was being molested by his stepfather. Boys or kids will act out the things that they're going through in terms of their trauma. But I didn't really see it as abuse until I was 17, 18, 19. So I started to really kind of face that. So I didn't really have a framing for this is your sexual identity. I just was like, this feels good. And so I really didn't get back to what does this mean and what is a label and what does it mean to carry a label until, again, my late 20s, early 30s, really until I approached that. So I didn't consider myself bi. I just considered myself somebody who liked boys.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you have anybody influence-wise that you would look after, or basically look towards, maybe give you some kind of input or anything like that, or did you just went on your way and just did your thing? Is it?
I think I did have some influences actually, and a little bit of both.
Right.
There was a woman I ended up dating pretty soon after I got separated and divorced. When we first met, we met on OkCupid, and she introduced herself to me as a lesbian who had been with women for 12 years prior and had been in long-term relationships and all of that. And so pretty immediately into the dating, I had assumed that we would just be friends. I got into the world of, okay, she's gay, she's cool, but
Right.
we're not wanting the same thing.
It's that tension, right?
So I was very surprised when, a couple weeks into that, she was like, "Hey, I've decided that I would like to try sleeping with a man, and like it's been a while for me, and I would like it to be you." And I said,
"Oh, okay."
All right. Fascinating.
So she trusted you to be that person.
Quite a bit. And so while she was making her own journey, I started talking to her more about where I was and like what I wanted to discover and about myself and where we were going. And so she really helped me open up with that, including coming out to friends. It was many years later before I came out to my family, but I had friends for years. And of course you've got coworkers and there's multiple layers of relationships, and you're concerned, you're worried, you're not sure if they're going to receive this well. And I'm fortunate in that so many did. When I told people, they're like, "Cool." Right. I don't know why you're telling me this, but neat.
Right.
And so for the most part, those relationships stayed intact. There was one or two who absolutely were in the place of, no, I'm not feeling that. I don't understand why you're doing this and why you got divorced and why you feel like you need to live this life. It's a betrayal to what I learned later, everything they believe, not necessarily everything I believe.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, well, if that's the price of admission, then I choose happy. I'm going to go do that.
Yeah, for sure. Did your sexuality throughout your life, did it cause any strain on any relationships or anything like that?
Oh, yeah.
Is that why you got divorced?
I mean, it was a huge part of why I got divorced. It was really...
Well, why don't you walk us through that? How did that all start? And
because that struggles. A lot of people struggle with that, and I think that's what we try to support is couples in a couple's relationship to come out and to be able to explore together as a couple, married couple. And I think that this shows the one that you were right there in the middle of that.
Yeah, no doubt. And also, it's probably pretty notable that I really confronted the sexuality piece first, long before ever becoming a swinger. So I was never in an open relationship or open marriage. When I was married, like I was to be committed in that marriage. That's what we were doing. I will tell you that the first encounters while I was married was, me cheating. That's what that was.
Right.
That doesn't feel great to go back and say, and even to think about it. Right.
But there was wants and desires that you had, and it was obviously there in the back of your head trying to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But even past that, there was health issues I was going through.
Right,
there was I had a new baby.
Yeah.
There was a ton of stress happening in my life in lots of different ways. And so that all sort of came together in the form of, hey, I met somebody who made me feel a way that I hadn't felt in, 10, 12, 15 years. And so all of a sudden that rekindled all these things and led me on this path. By the time I got to the place in my marriage where I was like, okay, I'm ready to confront some of these things, I had kind of been on the straight and narrow for about 2 years in terms of like, I stopped the relationships, the affairs, the other stuff, and was like, no, this is your best bet at having a partner in life. You need to kind of work this out. And so I had hoped that we would be ready to maybe uncover that next part of the conversation of like, hey, here's really what's driving me and where I want to go discover. And I don't know what this looks like, and I don't know where this leads. And I don't even know if that puts us in open marriage territory. I just know that I have feelings about boys and girls, men and women, right? That I'm interested in exploring those feelings. And so I knew that when I had that conversation with my then wife, that it might not go well. She had given me plenty of reasons to understand why she would feel that was a betrayal to her, and I don't fault her for feeling that way. Right. But I was prepared. I had accepted that potentially it might be the end of the relationship, and so I did. I went home from I had gotten a new job, and I had come back from a work trip. And I remember deciding on the plane on the way home, like, I'm going to do this when I go home. I'm ready.
You're tired of living the way you're living.
I have everything I need, should it end in the end of my marriage, to carry that forward if I need to.
Right.
It's not what I want. That's not what I'm going to go in with. But if that's where we land, then that's where we land.
Mm-hmm.
And so that conversation was pretty short. It was definitely, hey, I'm bisexual. I like men. I like women. And like, I've been attracted to men for some time, and I'm interested in exploring these feelings. And immediately it was met with, that's gross.
Really? Yep.
And my heart sunk.
That's a heartbreaking.
But when you pick yourself up from that, you say, okay, now you know where you are.
Mm-hmm.
And so you just say, I'm moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, the cost had already been so high that by the time I got to telling friends and others, and they were like, I don't know what you're doing with your life. And you're like, neat, I lost a wife.
Right. Right. Right.
I'm sad about you being upset about my choices, but truthfully, they're my choices.
Mm-hmm.
This is for me. And that was hard. And my advice to people all these years later would still be, man, if you can work it out, you should work it out.
Right.
Like, there's a reason you married somebody.
Mm-hmm.
You should try to stay with them. But at the same time, if you're not living a life that you feel is honest, if you don't think there's a way to reconcile that and you can't find the way to move forward, then you go to the next place, which is, it's important.
And that's hard
to do.
for people sometimes to accept that, especially there's somebody they love and they put a certain imaginary thought into how their life was going to be with them for the rest of their lives, and now things have changed, and I can get that's tough, and especially with this type of a situation. So.
Yeah, for sure. And when you were thinking of how to break it to her or how to bring it up to her, like, what was going through your mind during all that time?
Oh,
This could be the end, or this is yeah.
Were you were preparing for
quite
it
a
to
bit
be the end?
that. Yeah, I mean, I had already consulted with an attorney and talked about what my options might be if it was time to get divorced. I had tax returns and financial paperwork and that sort of stuff kind of arranged, but that's who I am.
Right.
Yeah, you're a very orderly
So
person.
you moved along with that. I mean, obviously, and you got through that. And I think there's a big change that you've gone through with learning that, and that's part of your history. So
I guess what I meant by my question was mentally, like, how did you prepare for that? Like, and I mean, you obviously knew that. What did you? Let me ask you this: when you went into it, did you have a feeling it was going to lean one way or another, or was it completely blindsided?
I did have a feeling that it might not work out, hence the preparation for that,
Makes sense.
potential outcome. It's not what I wanted again. It's not where I led with. And for a short duration, she was like, okay, we'll do this. And if you want to have an open marriage, I just never want to find out about it, know about it in any way, and I never want to see it. And I was like, that doesn't feel very honest.
Yeah, so
Right.
she wanted a don't ask, don't tell kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And that just, if there was a way to do this, in my mind, what was going through my head was, if this is my best friend, I mean, at one point she was my best friend, and if this is my best friend and we're supposed to go through the hardships of
you'll
life
work
together,
it out. You deal with it.
then here we have a hardship in front of us. And I've been carrying this by myself for a very long time. And what I decided when I went home in that plane ride was, I can't carry it anymore. I am done holding on to these bricks. They are weighing me down, and I need to set them down. And so that decision was final, which is such a weird one, because I'd carried them. I mean, I'd carried those bricks metaphorically on my shoulders for 11 years and didn't even consider it a weight for quite some time. But all of a sudden, I couldn't anymore.
Yeah. Now, when that weight was lifted off your shoulders, how did that feel?
Oh, remarkable.
Yeah.
Remarkable. I mean, there's a separate journey to kind of getting to like living your most honest, full life. Like
Sure.
that didn't just happen like a light switch.
Yeah, no.
But I certainly knew the path I was going down was one that was going to yield me happiness, that I was going to find my way to happy again. And I did. I was a miserable person as a married person for a while. But I found my happiness again, and that was definitely the first
And that's
step.
the thing, is the society at large tells us that we have to learn to live a certain way or do a
Right.
certain thing, and these are the morals and values you have to live by. And it's like, that doesn't mean it works for everybody. It doesn't.
Right.
And sometimes that's the struggle that we live with. I know for me that was a hard battle that I always fought with, and I never knew what was going on. And I think I hear the same thing that you were saying.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm sure many of your listeners can probably identify with
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
For sure. So after your marriage ends, did you date around? Did you was it women? Was it men? Was it anybody in between? Like, how did that? What did Brandon, freshly divorced Brandon's life look like?
Yeah. It took a little bit to get serious about dating. I was really just sort of kind of picking up the pieces of fractured identity, all that stuff. When I met the woman I was telling you about earlier, I had probably been separated or out of the house for about 9 months, and I was on the finish line of just about divorced. We weren't dating seriously, but we were good friends. She's a wonderful person. She ended up later moving to Chicago and has a great life there. Mm-hmm. And I think about her often, if you're listening. The rest, in terms of how dating worked for me after that, it was a mixed bag of mostly women. There were some men. Boy, I don't know if anyone here has been on the internet and attempted to date men on the internet.
It can be a struggle. It can be a
Grindr.
challenge.
That's my extent with trying to meet good dudes is Grindr.
I was surprised, actually, by a couple different things. Well, I hadn't dated since I was in my late teens, early 20s. And the prior iteration of dating I had didn't, internet dating was at its infancy in the early 2000s. And so all of a sudden I find myself divorced and I'm 30, 31, and I am dating and I'm like, oh, and I was a catch for the women. That was really something remarkable. They're like, oh, wow, you have a car, you have a job, you're a parent to your child and you're not shitty at it.
Right.
And it felt like the bar was low. The things they were telling me about their other dating experiences, I was like, I'm really sorry you're having that. And then I flipped my profile to bi one day, and 184 messages in a day, right?
Oh, wow.
And all of a sudden you're just like, oh, none of them have any substance. Right. They're all the same shit. Yeah. They're all just like, hey, sup, you cute. What's up? Well, fuck you. Neat. It's great to be wanted. But how are you supposed to discern? How are you supposed to really be we have a connection here? Right. We have no connection here. Then there's not something to build on. It sends one message. One message was hey, my name is, and I read your profile, and I found all these things very interesting, and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, this is what the ladies were telling me about. They want to be seen. It does feel good to be seen. That person and I are great friends to this day. That we originally started through dating. We dated for a little bit, but that we quickly kind of came to I think we're going to be great friends, and we are. I had a few other opportunities to date some men along the way. Nothing that really went into a relationship, and so as the months went into years, eventually got to the place of, hey, no, I think I'm ready for a partner again. I think I'm really ready. I don't know about marriage, but I'm definitely ready to be serious about this. And when I did make that decision, I came to the realization that I wanted an open relationship, that was, if I was going to get back into dating, that those were the terms. And prior to that, I had just been doing casual dating or friends with benefits or relationships where the type of monogamy that you might have, it wouldn't be implied.
Right.
And I think that was the right choice for me. There were many iterations to get to the right place and the right partner and the right things and where I am now. But that was 2016.
So I have a question. Yeah. Was that Brandon or was that Champagne Sparkles?
Oh, that was Brandon.
And so Champagne Sparkles wasn't born yet?
No, not at all.
That comes much later.
Wow. Okay, that's interesting.
So you start dating and you wanted an open relationship. So was that the pineapple lifestyle influence, or did you discover that while you were with somebody, or so basically, Brandon, I'm asking you how did you discover the pineapple lifestyle?
Yeah. I'm going to have to tell you a little backstory in order.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Okay.
Right. So my current partner, my spouse, is my 5th iteration of open relationship. Wow. So there were a few attempts. The first one, it starts as, that was a difficult thing to have as a conversation when you're dating. I had become rehearsed at having the conversation of I'm bisexual. And so it was super scary. The first few times I told people that, and there were definitely 1 or 2 people I told that to, and they would be like, "Nope, that's gross." And it felt like the same rejection I got from my ex-wife all over again. Yeah. But then I met this one, and so she's like, "Yeah, that's cool. You do you, man." And I was like, "Oh." I was like, Well, here's the thing about that. Like, I think if I got serious with somebody, I would still want to be able to explore that and to do that. And I really can't see myself landing with one person for the rest of my life and having that define all things sex and sexuality for me. I don't think that's who I am. And this person said, well, that's really interesting. Yeah, I could probably be down with that. And this is like first date conversation we're having, right? So like it's pretty heavy. You know, my second date, we fucking, because like, yeah, you see the ground we covered on the first date.
Right.
And it got kind of serious. What I figured out pretty quickly is that she was moving the goalposts each time we kept having this conversation. So I was like, okay, let's get to a club. Let's go check out one of these swinger clubs and see what they're all about. Like, I don't really want to go as a single guy. I had tried that once and it wasn't a great experience. And so I was just like, this would be much better if I bring a partner. And she kept saying, well, maybe next month, or maybe we'll do whatever, or maybe I need something else to happen. And this kept going on. And eventually that landed to, if you put a ring on it, I'll do that. And I was like, oh, no.
Yeah.
So we'll call that attempt number 1.
Wow.
All right. So they improved continuously as I got more aware of the situation in terms of what I might be asking for, what would be reasonable, what accommodations you would want to make with somebody. At the time I met my current spouse, I was also dating somebody else prior to meeting her, and she was full on swinger. As a matter of fact, you might remember her because she's the one I started coming to the parties with.
Yeah, I do.
And that was great. So between 1 and 4, like, we got there.
Yeah.
And she was really I would consider a model swinger in that sense, and the world of casual sex was very comfortable for her. She had come out, or actually she lost her virginity at like 28, pretty late.
Oh, wow.
And I actually found that to be a pretty consistent trait. People who waited a while to have sex and then kind of woke up to the world of, oh, wow, sex.
This is fun. Yeah, absolutely.
All the sex. And she had traveled abroad and done various things. And so in that, she had explored sexuality with many different partners, which she had done safely, and different ways we talked about how to maintain that. And so I was like, okay, I think I finally found the right person. So pretty early into that relationship, we started doing swinging dates and experiencing that and being like, okay, let's meet more people. We'd love to have regular play partners. We'd love to have these things. Being bi and also being involved in swingers was new. And so I was definitely approaching some of those issues. And that took some weird forms, man. We went to clubs and like, we'd be into some people and be like, yeah, all right, let's go get it on. And they would either be hesitant or all of a sudden you'd be like, yeah, he's cute. Like he's cute. I want to see his dick.
So were you doing this as a bi male straight up?
Oh,
yeah.
Yes.
As a relationship? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So you were open about it from day one.
Yeah, I mean, this would have been late 2020, early 2021. We're just starting to get back into clubs and trying in-person events again after the pandemic stuff. And yeah, I had no problem being comfortable with being bisexual at that point. I was
this is me. This is the way it is.
This is what I want. I know what I'm here for.
Yeah.
I'm looking for all the parts.
Right.
Yeah. And so in that, we did not do particularly great with the swinger endeavors. We went on probably 12 or 13 dates. We had various outcomes that ranged from okay average sex to not. And then we found you guys in the parties.
That was actually going to be my next question.
I think I remember that night.
Oh, I do. I remember that night.
It was a hotel party in Orlando, wasn't it not?
It was.
Yes.
It was. That was the first one we went to. And actually, Ricky, you had called.
I did.
We were running a few minutes late. And I remember being like, oh, this guy, he's serious. He wants us here. And I was like, yes, this is finally. We've been wasting our time.
Right.
Finally, there's some hope that maybe we won't be doing that anymore, and it did end up working out.
So what was it like when you first, your first Ricky party?
This was a small party, I think. Remember, I think it wasn't very many people, maybe 20 people or so.
15 to 20.
20 people, and it's more of an intimate
party.
Okay,
it was one of your hotel parties.
It's a hotel party. It was an early on hotel party in Orlando. I had to keep it on the down low.
Yeah, I never unfortunately went to any of your hotel parties, but I did obviously do your other house parties.
Just trying to move something in Orlando, and I remember I went through my list and I'm like looking at all the people that bought tickets and they're there and we're getting ready to do the round robin, and I like to have everybody there, so that everybody can introduce themselves, so everybody knows who everybody is. And I'm like, this Brandon, I wonder if they're coming or not. It's like, I don't want to wait for them if they're, if they're gonna be here, we'll wait for them. But if they're not, and I called and he was like, yeah, hello. Like, and I was like, he's like, why are you calling me? Type of thing. No. He's like,
where'd you get this number?
Where'd you get this number at? And then he said, no, we'll be there in a few minutes and stuff. And I said, okay. I told everybody, and sure enough, to come popping in there. So.
Yeah, I remember when I first met you, it was at probably the next house party after that, or a hotel party. And you're at least in that kind of environment. And from my first impression of you was you were a little shy.
I was. We had actually been to a party at a place you guys were having in Lakeland prior to this. And we had been to one of those in October. And what had happened
But it wasn't one of my parties, though,
was it? It was one of your parties.
Was it?
And it was the biggest one you'd ever had. And I remember there's like 100 and something people there.
Wow.
And I did end up playing with some people there who, interesting, years later, right, they're part of this group and we're all reconnected, which is super fun. But I was super nervous. One, I was all dressed up because I'm like, oh, this is a fancy affair.
Yeah, you were. And you were in like a suit and tie, if I remember correctly.
I remember
was it New Year's or something?
No, this was October. It was October. And I remember being like, oh, okay. It was a good time. It was a really good time. I had some health stuff going on. So I had like an eye issue and I had no contacts in. I couldn't really see much. And so I was depending on my partner at the time very much to be like, hey, who's hot? They all look the same to me at this point. I could just, you put something in my face. And
right. Yeah.
And we were also, we played a little bit, but we were putting our toes in a little bit and just trying to understand. It was a big group too, so there was just a little intimidation with the number of people.
So tell me about the hotel party when you sort of let loose, because I think you were pretty much into it then. That was a smaller party.
So it was many months that went by because I had to deal with that health issue and whatever, and then we kind of got back in the game. And for that period of time in between, she was like, so are we doing this again or what? Like, I know you want to go back. And I was like, of course I do. Like, but I need to feel good to go there and be in that place. So I think it was like January or February by the time we ended up kind of going to the next thing. And yeah, we went to one of the hotel parties. I realized pretty quickly that like, I was like, okay, this is it. Like we found the people that are now like really part of it. They have a crew. There's a community. This is organized, like, neat. We had been trying to kind of piecemeal our own dating scenario into what we would hoped to work out to something like this. And clearly you guys were years ahead of us in terms of where you were
doing it.
So I was like, yeah, I'm in. I always love dressing up. I always like looking nice. When I feel really good with how I'm presenting myself, I like the attention it gets me, as I'm sure most people do. But also I think I like how it makes me feel about myself when I look at myself in the mirror and I'm like, man, you look good. Look at that.
Oh yeah, it's always a confidence
Some of those outfits, I tell you what, is amazing.
And so the next hotel party I went to, I remember it was April 20th, it was 420. And I was like, I'm gonna dress up. I'm gonna dress up. And like, if I dress up the way, because I had been playing around with putting panties on at home and doing various things, and I was like, and we had a lot of fun with that. And I was like, no, I'm gonna dress up. And my partner at the time, I did not have a full appreciation of just how great she was with makeup at the time. But she's like, I'll do your makeup and stuff. And I was like, okay. And when she did, I was like, oh, wow, that looks great. And I was looking back at myself and I was like, okay, I need a name that is larger than life that kind of goes with this persona of what I see in front of me. This isn't Brandon anymore. And like, that's when I thought about Champagne Sparkles for a little bit. I was like, what would just cut? What's a great just like porn star name that I can just make my own and use to seal this identity? And I loved it. You guys responded very positively, and so Champagne. It was born.
Absolutely, that was great.
So I was going to ask you, how does Champagne Sparkles, like where does Champagne Sparkles come from? How did that come to be? Started off looking good, of course, but where did the whole idea of champagne and that persona, or however you want to word that?
Sure. I mean, I tried a couple different names. There were some subsequent outfits, and for a while, I think I tried a Strawberry Heaven.
Yep, Strawberry Heaven.
There were a few others. Champagne was sort of the one that seemed to stick. But there were two things that were kind of important to me. the first was I was like, yeah, I want to be memorable. I want this name to be a thing where like who you met, and like this needs to be there. And later I started to figure out how that starts to intersect with our forms like drag and a few things like that, because I'm just like, okay, yeah, now I see why performers do this now. But at the time, that was just important to me, be noticed. And then the second was, I want it to feel happy. I want it to feel, positive and uplifting. And so like, I think sparkles was just a great way to communicate that.
Absolutely.
And so I was in that place, and I was like, okay, this is it. And it took.
That's awesome. And you've really, at least Ricky can maybe.
It's a lot of work. She does a lot of work. Let me tell you what.
A lot of
like,
work.
Woo.
I mean, we're gonna show everybody your process a little bit later.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting.
That'll be interesting.
You would have had to show up yesterday to show everyone the full process.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So take us through that. Take us through the full champagne sparkles process. So how many days before a party do you start prepping as champagne?
Typically like a day ahead. Like Ricky, there's some diet consideration that I definitely kind of go through around where I'm eating and stuff, because if you're bottoming a lot, like that's just the thing you want to do. But mostly for me, and I love that we live in a world where non-binary expression can be whatever you want it to be. So I could go full body hair. I had a full beard. You've got some pictures. I'm sure you'll
yes.
show to your audience. I had a full beard yesterday when I woke up in the morning, and then it all goes, right? Because for me, what I want in expressing my gender this way is I want to be seen as woman. I want that to be visually very obvious to you. I don't want you to have to guess. Like, people ask me all the time, what pronouns would you prefer? And I love the thoughtfulness of that request, but I'm really just like, what do you see in front of you?
Right.
And the answer is always, oh yeah, when I'm champagne, they're like, yes, she, her. And I'm like,
Yes.
bingo, nailed it.
That's what I was aiming for.
That's right. And so for me, that prep process actually starts with removing all my body hair, removing all my facial hair, that sort of stuff. And that's usually about a day before. I use a chemical compound kind of similar to Nair. It's a Veet for sensitive skin. Amazon links. We'll have to figure that out. Affiliate links.
Yes.
All right.
Click in the link below.
So like, I use that. My partner's very great at she can get me from head to toe in about 10 minutes. She can take care of this because she's now very disciplined with the routine. We know what to do. But the first time we did it, oh boy, I think it took like an hour and a half for us to get through. And if you keep that stuff on your skin too long, it'll start to burn. And like, there's a bunch of stuff. You like 24 hours ahead of time, make sure that I'm not having skin reactions and some stuff like that, so that like, okay, I can be comfortable with that. If there's any missing spots, I'm also shaving. So any touch-up areas, that stuff, the genitals and things like that, you don't put a cream down there. Warning for all listeners: do not put cream in your genitals.
It's not a good idea.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, so I do a little bit of that. So that's a day before, and then the day of, there's sort of two levels of prep that are happening. One is sort of psychological and some self-care I'm doing for myself. And there are little talking tracks I'm telling myself in my head of like, man, you're going to look so hot tonight. Like, they're going to love that. Champagne's ass brings it every time. Like, wait till you do that. Like, and again, that is sort of hyping myself up and getting that anticipation so that I am feeling sexy and sort of in that place. And I can get the character, that part of me kind of awakened. Then the second part is the rest of the physical stuff. And like, yeah, in addition to that, you see I have my nails done. I constantly have my nails done. This is gel. I do dip and powders and different stuff too. And so those are kind of permanent solutions in that like they take acetone time and work to get off. So it's not like a do it the day before or whatever, but like I'm typically getting my nails prepped and some things like that. And so there's 2 or 3 hours in the salon that are required.
And that also, I know that you do sometimes the makeup and the full makeup in the, that's a full thing that you do before you even come to the show. But I know that you didn't do that because of the actual, because of the podcast here today, but you can do it after this.
Yes. And I'm very much hoping that you'll have a future episode with the very wonderful person who does my makeup at some of these events.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that'd be great.
She's a sweetheart.
Yeah, absolutely. But I do sometimes take appointments at Sephora. Shout out to my folks over at Sephora. Canyon, you're amazing if you're listening.
Oh yeah, I met her too. She's a sweetheart.
So like, yeah, I go over there and they're really wonderful. But it is quite the experience because I walk into a mall And I do kind of feel like the worst that you get is like you're just a dude in a dress. And like I walk into the mall and I kind of feel like a dude in a dress, but I walk out of that mall with a full makeup and I feel very much like a woman.
So you go there dressed with a dress, and then you go to get your makeup done, and then you walk out of there full dress.
Most of the time, yeah. I am.
Have you had any bad experiences with that?
Unfortunately, only one.
Right.
Yeah, only one time. 97%, 98% of the people
Nobody
that I encounter are really wonderful and supportive, and they say great things. And it makes telling these stories hard because it kind of overshadows all the greatness that's in front of me. But yeah, I was once leaving, and I got heckled by some teenagers, some 16, 17-year-olds, telling me that I was an abomination as I was leaving the mall. And that did affect me. I got in my car and took a second and collected myself, and then I brushed it off and said, I'm going to go to a party and I'm going to fuck my brains out and have a great time. And okay, but like that stuff sticks with you.
Yeah, of course. But one of the things, like I always say, fuck the naysayers. Just do you, and whatever it makes you happy, like the world is too small for assholes, and try not to let the assholes bother you. They're going to be out there. But a lot of that, those guys are just insecure with their own feelings.
their own feelings, and they're just they're just throwing up what they've already heard, and they don't really have any substance on it, and it's probably something that they're dealing with and whatever,
and they're probably attracted to you.
Well, hold on,
and they might be
these are kids, so let me be really unequivocally clear about this. I blame the parents.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's definitely part of it.
Well, that's what I mean, exactly. Yeah, I mean, there's sort of that open door where they, for whatever reason, they've been taught that's what it was.
For sure. So let me ask you this. The first time you came to a party as Champagne Sparkles, what was that like when you walked out and during the round robin and you introduced yourself as Champagne? How did that make you feel?
You do not have to ask about the first time because it's actually every time. I get this feeling every time. Which is simply this overwhelming, just warm blanket that sort of overcomes me of just acceptance, because there's a round of applause. There's like things that happen, and it is surreal. And again, maybe it's a great contrast for the previous story I just told you of like what it feels like to be in a place without acceptance. All of a sudden to then go to a place with such huge amounts of acceptance. It's so affirming. I cannot express enough my gratitude for the people that come and express that. It means everything to me.
So I think that's really what we tried. I mean, that's what I try to strive from day one, is to accepting, anybody that wants to come in, if that's what they want to do and experience. I think that's what it is about, and so, and I'm glad that that's available to him and to us and to her. Absolutely. And everybody else that wants to come in and join us.
That's why we do it. Because you got the world needs more places where people can come together and just be themselves and have fun without, again, worrying about the assholes.
Exploring themselves and exploring them, what they want and what they don't. I mean, it's like I've tried the cross-dressing thing. I'm like, it's chicken too much work for me. It's you know what I mean? From the prepping and the hair, getting the hair and doing all that stuff. It's like, I don't know. Just what I get out of it, I'm like, for me, I'm just like, I don't know. I'm just, there was just that moment, and I have my amounts of just admiration for these guys and gals that come and do that, that spend the time and the money and the effort to do all of that stuff. Yeah. And it's just amazing.
For me too, I couldn't do it. I just, I feel too masculine maybe to do it, even though I love the bottom,
I mean, the gender identity and the sexual identity are very different things. Yeah. So like you can bottom all day long and absolutely love that and find lots of pleasure there and never have a desire to try to explore some part of you that you'll call femininity. This is me. But everybody will walk their journey on their own terms for what is important to them.
Of course.
I think that when I get to see somebody who's exploring or experimenting and they're having a lot of fun with it, I think it does. It pleases me. It tickles me just a little bit because I get to this place of, ooh, what a fun thing. I get to share this with you now.
Right.
So that's neat.
That is a neat experience.
Do you remember the first time we met, you and I?
Oh, yeah.
You want to tell that story?
Oh, number 5.
When was that one of the parties?
So I think it was the first time that I met Champagne Sparkles.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was your first or second time coming as Champagne Sparkles.
Maybe the third. I don't know, but it was
early on.
It was early on.
It was definitely, you definitely had had settled on the Champagne Sparkles name
Uh-huh.
and identity. But I haven't interacted with you yet at that point. So
was it my birthday?
it was your birthday because
It
you
was
were
my
the
birthday.
you were the birthday slut.
And
that
I
night.
was like, I'm gonna fuck as many people as I can. Let's see how high of a number I can leave tonight with. And so you were number 5. My partner at the time, she had found you.
Yes.
I remember it because she was like, "What do you think of this one?" And you're big and you have these tattoos all over you. So I was a little intimidated. I won't lie. I was a little bit like, "Ooh," but you were super cool, very nice, very smooth. Jay, you always are.
I try to be.
And I was like, I'm already lubricated. I'm already ready. Fuck it, man. Let's do this. And like, you were number 5. And then we kind of made a tradition out of that.
Yeah, that was the thing. Every party ever since. And I think and then one time, my most recent memory was I was in the swing and you were number 5.
Yes. That was more recent.
That was very recent. That was you actually. So that brings me to my next question is, in your time as Champagne and Brandon and coming back and forth, because some parties you come as Brandon and sometimes you come as Champagne, what kind of growth have you experienced as Brandon and as Champagne and as you and as an individual?
Yeah, no, that's really great. There was a period of time where I was really consistently coming as Champagne. So much so that I had come to a party as Brandon
And nobody knew you.
and nobody knew me. Like,
Yeah,
people,
I remember that.
people introduced themselves to me and I'm like, I fucked you last month. Like, I don't want to be weird about this, but you do know me.
You do.
One, that's sort of affirming because I was going for, I really want you to see me as Champagne. And so clearly I did that.
Oh, you're very good at it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I commend you very much on that.
Which felt just, again, reaffirming, very, very good. But then this other part of like, oh, I kind of miss, they don't know who I really am. Right. Champagne's a character. She is larger than life. She's a fucking slut and she owns it, every part of it. She's a little Southern belle gone trashy.
Yeah, what was it you told me when we were at Hito? You said, when I'm Brandon, I am a Southern gentleman and I am very respectful, but when I'm Champagne, I'm a $2 hooker.
That's right.
That's about right. That sums it up right there.
Yeah, and I really feel like I get to get in touch with that. So I think the first time I really went to a party as Brandon, we had that weekend long party, and it was actually, you were there.
Yeah,
Jay.
in Claremont.
Yep, it was there. And that's when I got to spend time with your friend that I really enjoy, whom you know. And got to meet her for a little while. I was like, oh, okay, you're something different. I didn't think I liked meeting everybody, but there was nobody that I was like, I want to fucking hang out with you. Like, let's do that. And then this person had done that. And she saw me as Brandon, like only as Brandon, and hadn't seen me as Champagne, and like was like, I like you. You're nice. And I was like, okay. And up to that point, I had kind of built this up in my head of, they only want to fuck Champagne. Like, this is what they like. I got to bring them what they like. And in doing that, a little bit of that was not always me doing it for me. I was doing it a little bit for them. And I realized that I had kind of folded into that. And I was like, no, I need to also have this identity as to who Brandon is as a swinger. And that started that. So that was probably about 1.5 years ago.
Yeah.
And
almost 2 now.
Yeah. And so it caused me to kind of open up about how I was going to try swinging. And I had just strictly been like, I'm Champagne, I'm a bottom, fuck my ass. And I love that. So that is not a bad time for me. I'm having a good time when I'm doing that. But I also really appreciate that now I'm at a place where I'm trying more things. I go as Brandon, I sometimes top, I sometimes bottom. And it's kind of fun to do that. It was very nice to get to do that with you.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Me too.
So I want to interject something there. At that time, that there was a process there where Brandon came to me and said, I want to help. I want to help you. And what can I do? And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, well, you know, you got things going on, but I think we can make some things better. I think we could work on some things. And I was like, well, what are you talking about? And he's very, Brandon is very tech savvy. and was like, really? I'm like, okay, I want to do this for you, Ricky. Let's do this. And I was like, okay. So we've been working together, and Brandon's been helping me out behind the scenes, just as you have, Jay, and helping make Bi events even better, in whatever aspect. And I very much appreciate your friendship and love you very much, and appreciate you very much for helping both of you,
Oh, we appreciate
because
you too,
you guys
Ricky.
are, the backbone of what makes this thing happen, and without you guys, supporting and being here, that's one thing, but you guys extend it even more. You show up, you help out on the extra hours, and, Brandon's always calling me and saying, hey, what do you think about this? Or, this is pretty fucked up. Maybe we should look at this, and it's like, I really appreciate that from both of you guys. So, and I think that was been through that process too. And when you said not many people know Brandon because they know Champagne Sparkles, and I also know Brandon as more so than I do a Champagne Sparkles. Right. So, and the family, and him being a family man, and how much he loves his son, and, and all the other things. And I really appreciate you very much. And I really appreciate you for being here and part of my life.
Touching my heart, man. Again, same for you, Ricky. You mean the world to me, and this community means the world to me, but I'm grateful to be here with you.
That's good stuff.
So, we're getting pretty close to finishing up here. Let's just go back in. So, but going back to the growth, so you've come full circle. Let me ask you this: coming to Ricky's parties and being able to be Champagne or be Brandon or be whoever you want to be that night, how does that make you feel? Like, what's the effect of Ricky's parties been on you?
I mean, I think I'm going to answer that question by sort of answering a different question, which is, what's next for me will mean that I will probably get to do this a little less often. And that has had a heavy weight for me. And so I only say that as an affirmation of just how much this has meant to me to be able to be here. I look forward to it. It's the experience that I know I can count on that keeps me linked to this part of myself that is part of making me whole. And so the thought of not having it makes me feel less than whole. And so, I will find other ways to fill that. I can't imagine any of them will be quite as meaningful and deep of an experience for me as this has been.
I just think it just opens up another perspective of, we get to open another venue or another opportunity up north a little bit more.
Yeah.
So
That's
what I'm thinking.
By events. And why don't we talk about that? So Brandon, Champagne, you're moving, you're leaving the country. You're moving to Canada. You said your partner is a veterinarian and you're moving for work or for her work.
Yes. She has gotten quite the opportunity in Toronto. So we are going to relocate. And I'm going to find some work up there and get involved in tech up there, and hopefully find a fun kink swinger scene in Toronto.
I heard Toronto is actually a pretty big lifestyle part of Canada. I think that is the lifestyle mecca of Canada.
There are 6 million people in Toronto in a country with 40 million people. So
it's a big deal. So I'm excited. I mean, I think that, having a Bi events deals up there is a thing to do. You go out to Canada. And
that'd be great.
We got quite a number of friends that come down all the time that visit us from up north, and they actually go to Jamaica and some other things that are actually real part of our community that are up there already. They're ready to support us, want us to come up there already. So I'm glad that one of our key members is going to be up there.
Yeah, that's awesome. So before we finish up here, Brandon, Champagne, is there anything you wanted to shout out? You're got an Instagram or Facebook or whatever. If you want anybody, FetLife, if you want anybody out there that's watching to follow you or
if you want
contact
to find me, you got to be hosting a Bi orgy and invite me to it. And the best way to do that is to invite Ricky.
Bi events, right?
What's on the Bi events website? What's your handle on there?
I am Champagne Sparkles.
I am Champagne Sparkles. So yeah, check out Brandon. So. Well, I don't have any other questions. Ricky, did you have any other questions?
No,
for Champagne?
absolutely not. I'm glad and really appreciate Brandon coming and spending the time here. I know you got to get ready for your makeup and get all ready for the party because we are at the mansion.
Yeah, we're at the mansion. We're having a party tonight.
Yeah, we're having a party. We're all set up.
Blast.
If you hear a little noise coming back and forth, that's people coming in and out and stuff. We did put some signs up, but we are working on. This will be one of the first ones where we're actually trying to do some recording. We're trying to do some video recording. We're going to start to add that into there, and appreciate Brandon being a part of that. That's going to be a part part of, trying to improve this once again. He actually donated some equipment that we're using here at Time, so we're really happy about that. And, trying to make it a little bit bigger and better, and to actually get the word out that, if you're out there struggling and you're in between, like what Brandon shared about being, not really knowing, and that, we've all been there, and I think that's really what this is all about, that we all find ourselves and we find other people that we want to focus on and be like and be a part of, that we welcome you to come here and be yourself and explore and maybe ask questions and learn what you like and what you don't like and those kind of things. And so again, I want to thank you for coming and being a part of this. And
thank you so much for having me.
Jay, for doing this again. So.
And then Ricky, did you have any other updates for bi events that you want to shout out?
No, everything's going really good. We're still here doing the Mansion Once a Month party. We do have Jamaica coming up. Woo! April 26th through May 5th, I think. 5th.
Something like that.
We're excited about that. That's not going to be a full takeover. It's going to be a half takeover. We got 108 rooms or so, I think, going on for that. So we're really excited about that. It's going to be a half. It's going to be just like the first time we did it in October. We only had 57 rooms that time, and it was an amazing event anyway. In this room we have 108, which is half the resort.
Nice.
So we're definitely going to do a lot of the key things that we do before. We got the orgy party. We got all those different events and things. It's going to be really a lot of fun. So with that being said, we're really happy with that happening. And of course, October is coming up, and we're really happy about that. We still have some rooms available for October if you want to hit us up. But also, we have people that fly in for our monthly parties. We have somebody coming from Houston, Texas. They're flying in today. And some other Canada. I know there's somebody actually coming from Colorado today too for another party. So cool. We're looking for that. We can call it some fresh meat, maybe see what happens. Anyway, with that being said, we invite everybody to come out and join us and be a part of this community.
Well, everyone, that wraps up this episode of the Living Life Between the Lines podcast. Be sure you smash that like button, share the show with everyone you know, and subscribe to our channel to stay up to date on new content being released. Head over to buyevents.com. That's buy-events.com to sign up for a profile and get the 411 on all Buy Events news. Stay tuned for our next episode, which will be released shortly. And if you would like to volunteer and have your story be told and be a guest on our show, send us an email at ricky@buyevents.com. We look forward to seeing you at the next Buy Events party, at Bi Week in Hedonism, and maybe one of my Metamore meet and greets. Until next time, I'm Mr. Jaye.
And I'm Tricky Rick.
Stay positive and love your life.
Absolutely. And live life, and don't let life live you.
Yeah. See you later, everybody.
Love you guys. Bye.